Hi, welcome back to the Colorblind Architect Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Clayton, and let's get started today. It's Monday morning, and we've got a couple weeks until the election. That is freaky close, and the allegations coming out about Joe Biden through his son Hunter Biden and Burisma and the Chinese investments and stuff. This New York Post article and the FBI having the laptop since last December. This stuff is amazing. I mean, it is really big stuff. And so far, it appears that it is all legit. When I first heard about it, I thought, okay, this sounds a little fishy. But the more I hear about it and the more I see the response from Twitter and Facebook trying to shut it down, which, oh my goodness, what on earth? They don't even shut down moon landing truthers or 9/11 truthers I mean, they barely stop Holocaust deniers from talking. I mean, and yet a New York Post article, and by the way, the New York Post is not a conservative rag. It is a newspaper that's the longest continuously operating newspaper still in existence today in the United States. It is a very well-respected and well-known newspaper. Now, the New York Times, on the other hand, is a total piece of trash. But I digress. Let's get back to the story. So, in case you've been living under a rock and you have not heard any of the stuff that came out this last week from the New York Post talking about the laptop from Hunter Biden that was left in the repair shop in Delaware, that just happened to have a lot of very salacious details about the relationship that Hunter and Joe have when it comes to influence peddling with foreign governments. Now, if we just look at the social media clampdown on this alone, that is a huge story in itself. That the Section 230 talk, this is huge. It's horrifying to think that we have companies in this country that think nothing of the First Amendment, that they think it's perfectly fine to shut down freedom of speech and freedom of the press. I mean, Twitter has still not unlocked the New York Post Twitter account. Let me repeat that. 5 days. And Twitter still has not unlocked the New York Post Twitter account. It's the New York freaking Post. I mean, this is not a small newspaper, and it is a legitimate newspaper. So, what are we doing? Are we trying to say that, New York Post shouldn't be allowed to publish things that they are standing behind? Again, they are standing behind this story. They're not saying that this was an error. They're not saying that this is a real story. The Director of National Intelligence has also verified that this is a real story and not Russian influence. It's not Russian disinformation. Is it Chinese disinformation? Well, that wouldn't make any sense because the Chinese Communist Party has already endorsed Joe Biden because, well, of course they would. They own him, man. I mean, you want to talk about slavery. I mean, remember the post that I gave about Joe Biden owning slaves? Well, okay, of course, he didn't own slaves. His ancestors did. Because, Joe Biden doesn't own slaves. He's a slave. To whom? Well, obviously, to Russian, Ukrainian oil oligarchs who own Burisma. He's a slave to the Chinese Communist Party. He's a slave to the widow wife of the former mayor of Moscow, Russia. This is the evidence that we're seeing. He has been engaged in influence peddling for years, and he has enriched himself and his family through his public office, which is a direct violation of law, and it is also antithetical to the American way. The whole concept of a public servant, this American idea that when you go into public life, you are doing so at a sacrifice to your own well-being. Take, for example, your local state legislature, okay? Here in Utah, I can tell you, I've got friends in the state legislature, and I will tell you, they do not make money in the state legislature. They lose money, and here's the reason why. Their regular jobs, for example, Ray Ward, he is a good friend of mine in Bountiful. Ray Ward is a state legislature representing the city of Bountiful in the state legislature. He is a doctor, a medical doctor. That is his day job. He runs a very successful practice and makes good money. Now, so when he goes to the state legislature, he is being paid less for his time in the state legislature than he is when he's doing his work as a doctor. So you might think, why in the world is he doing a job that pays less than his main job? Because he believes in something. He believes in doing something right for this country. He believes in helping his community by representing them and representing the values and beliefs that he and his constituents hold dear. So I consider Ray a very good, honest, decent person. And this is understanding the fact that we disagree on several political issues. I mean, not everything that he does is something that I completely agree with. But I consider him a friend. I consider him a good man. And I honor his service. Todd Weiler's another state legislature. He's in the state senate. He's a friend of mine as well. He's actually my state senator, and he's a good man. He's not always on the same page with me, but at the same time, when I see his efforts, I have a strong sense that he is doing right by what he believes to be true. I don't think he is trying to cheat the system. I don't think he's trying to enrich himself, which especially makes sense because, after all, he is a lawyer, a successful lawyer, and again, the state legislature doesn't really pay that much, and they only meet for a couple months, so it's definitely not something that you can make money off of unless you're corrupt. So, let's look at Joe Biden. His history. Blue collar Joe, right? I mean, that was always the moniker he gave himself. That he was always trying to portray himself as just the average working Joe from Scranton, Pennsylvania, who for some reason is in Delaware and taking the Amtrak train. Okay? Yeah, so first off, Amtrak's pretty expensive. It's way cheaper to drive a car. Just saying. If you've ever checked out the pricing for the Acela train, it is very pricey. To get a one-way trip from Washington, D.C. to New York on the Acela, not only is it going to take you all day because it sucks, but it's also like 70 to 80 bucks. Well, I can tell you right now, the gas and the tolls are going to be cheaper, and you can pack a car full of people. Whereas with an Amtrak, you're going to be paying that 70, 80 bucks per person. So it's not a good deal. Amtrak sucks. we really need to get rid of Amtrak. Just saying, it's a useless service. And this is coming from somebody who loves trains. I love trains. But I hate Amtrak. I think Amtrak is trash. Which is another reason why I distrust Joe Biden, because he keeps trying. He's always been like this pro Amtrak guy, trying to act like Amtrak is this wonderful thing. I think he's a freaking liar. But anyways, let's get back on track. 47 years in so-called public service, and he's gone from working class Joe to rich millionaire in a fancy $10 million house. Okay, how did that happen? I mean, it is still only a $200,000 a year salary for the Congress, right? Last time I checked, it was somewhere around there. I don't think there's a way that he could possibly be making enough money at $200,000 a year to be able to pay for a $10 million house. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe his wife has a good business. I don't think so, because last time I checked, she works as a consultant politically for some strange reason. Oh yeah, that's right, because her husband is politically connected, and so she got a politically connected job, just like his brother, who got a contracting gig in Iraq, even though he doesn't know how to do construction. And his son Hunter Biden got a $50,000 a month job on a board of an oil company in Ukraine, knowing nothing of the Ukrainian language, nor does he know anything about the energy sector or oil. Yeah, something's a little bit weird there. I wonder if it could be that Joe Biden is the most corrupt vice president that we've ever had. And this is saying something, considering that we had Spiro Agnew. I mean, the allegations against Richard Nixon and Spiro Agnew were nothing compared to the allegations against Joe Biden. I'm going to reiterate this. America, we better wake up. We better stop thinking that we got to stop thinking that we're going to be okay if we keep voting in people like Joe Biden, who supports a far left agenda. He is horribly corrupt. He's in bed with the Russians and the Chinese. He's in bed with the Ukrainians. He's in bed with just about every dictator on the planet. And oh my goodness, if I hear one more time people trying to claim, oh, but Trump is in bed with the Russians. How? What evidence? You talking about the false Steele dossier that's been proven false? I mean, are you talking about this supposed Russian collusion story that, you know, the FBI and the Democrats were going after him for 3 years at the, you know, during his first term? And it's like, where did it go? Nowhere. The report came out and said there was nothing substantial there. So again, what are we looking at here? And I'm going to venture an opinion here. Crazy thought. I'm going to venture an opinion that maybe, just maybe, we need to be a little bit more careful as to which news sources we're listening to. For example, the New York Times. They are a very dangerous organization. You should not be spending a single dime with them. Do not even look at their news articles. The New York Times is trash. They are evil. Okay? Yeah, I'm going to say it. I am so sick and tired of the New York Times trying to portray themselves as the paper of record. They are not anything of the sort. They've been wrong for decades. I mean, in the 1930s, they were backing Hitler. Now, I could be wrong about that. It might have been the Time magazine. I forget which one. However, they were definitely backing the communists. And that, to me, just smacks of a paper run by people who don't know what the hell they're doing because they're being useful idiots for the Communist Party, or they're actually colluding with them. And I know there's so many people who tell me, Dave, stop it with the communist crap. It's this, what is this ghost, this phantasm that you're chasing of communism? I'm like, I don't know, like maybe the fact that there actually is a communist party out there, maybe the fact that there actually are communist countries still in existence, like North Korea and China, and maybe the fact that we've been in bed with communist China for the last 4 decades, and I'm freaking sick of it. Human rights violations all over the place, stealing our technology, destroying our jobs, and on top of that, abusing and enslaving their own 1.4 billion people, all for a false ideology written by a wife-beating drunkard of a louse of a lazy, no-work idiot named Karl Marx, a dead racist white guy from the 1840s. I'm sorry, but I don't want to listen to a dead white guy who beat his wife and who was constantly drunk from the 1840s, who had crazy hair and boils all over his skin because he never bathed. And yet we're supposed to listen to these leftists who view Karl Marx as some kind of prophet, as some kind of genius who brought about the right way of understanding the forward march of history. And again, the forward march of history is such a false concept because it portrays the idea as though there is a destiny to history instead of free will. Again, we have free will. And I don't care what philosopher is trying to tell us that we don't have free will, but we have free will. And you know what? That free will was given to us by God. Yes. I'm getting a little bit worked up, aren't I? But I do, and I'm passionate about these issues, and that's why I talk about them. That's why I share them. That's why I have this YouTube video, this channel. It's not because I feel the need to try to force my opinions on anyone. It's that I feel I need to stand and speak the truth as I see it. I need to get my truth out so that other people can see it and hopefully understand. Now, do I have the whole truth? Obviously not. You know, I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. And hey, down below in the comments section, if you ever see something that I say and you think that I'm wrong, reach out to me. colorblindarch@gmail.com, or pop it down in the comments below. Yeah, let me know if you think that I'm wrong on something, or bring up some historical or current events facts. You know, point out a news article that maybe I've missed. Definitely. And hey, if you want to hear me talk about other topics, if you want to hear me talk about something that's important to you, an issue that's important to you, let me know. Right? Again, colorblindarch@gmail.com, or in the comments below. Definitely, you can even look up my page, Colorblind Architect, on Facebook. I've got a Facebook page there. I also have a Parler account and a Minds.com account, and you can look me up there. Reach out to me. I'm happy to talk about other things. I'm happy to research into other things because ultimately I want to make sure that I'm being as truthful and accurate as possible. And so, also, if you like my videos, smash the like button, hit subscribe. I don't necessarily care about the money. There's no money yet. I've got 7 subscribers at this time. So, like I said, I don't really care about that. I'm doing this because I need to stand up and speak the truth. And this is how I've chosen to do it because in my experience in the modern era, in the year 2020, it seems like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, social media seems to be the public square now. It would be really awkward if I go out to some park and just start standing up on a rock and starting to spout off, because people are just going to think that I'm crazy, for one thing, because there'd be nobody listening. In this case, nobody's listening, but at least it's just me and a camera. So, sitting alone in a car on a parking garage. Oh gosh, maybe I am crazy. Alright, well anyways, that's it for me today. I'm the Colorblind Architect. Peace out.